No, it wouldn't. You'd expect me to say that, and I'll tell you why. Is that, first of all, the Conservative Party are the only mainstream party who are offering that referendum on the Lisbon Treaty. A referendum which was promised explicitly by the government at the last election in their manifesto, and as soon as they realised that the public wouldn't accept it, dropped that, and Gordon Brown had signed that piece of legislation. Every country which has held a referendum has rejected it, including the French and the Dutch, founder members of the European Union. Their people say it's gone too far. And so the Conservative Party are offering those referendums, and we are talking about bringing into law that any fundamental move by Europe which would take powers away from this country would have to have a referendum in the same way Ireland does. So you could never just be signed up to the euro. You could never have the situation again where that treaty has been signed by Gordon Brown, and those referendums are there. Talking specifically about voting for Libertas and why not to vote for the mainstream parties, again it comes back to this issue of representation. You're likely to have, well you will have, a bunch of Conservatives, a bunch of Liberal Democrats, a bunch of Labour. You are unlikely to have much outside of that. All right, you've got a bunch of UKIP, and I do feel that UKIP will obviously maintain some seats, but I think the BNP will also take some seats at this election. Anything behind that will probably fall by the wayside. And therefore, your question has to be, what is most likely to get me the result I want by voting at this election? Do I vote for a Labour Party who are totally curtailed to a Labour government who don't feel... I mean, that's socialism all over. It's the fact that it's centralised control. It's one of the core reasons I'm Conservative. One of the core reasons I became a member of the Conservative Party is because I do think that people should be responsible for their own lives, have that control at the local level, which is something which we're pushing forward in our agenda for change. Socialism is very much a centralising control, bringing it all to the centre, doing it that way. And do you vote for a government and vote for Labour MEPs who just say, yes, I'll give you a referendum, and then when in power wouldn't? And I very much question whether a Labour government would have ever given us a referendum on the euro, because they know they wouldn't have got it through. And therefore they would have said, well, we're not going to do that. So a vote for the Conservative Party at the European elections is actually a signal in two ways. One, we want a party who gives us referendums and gives us a say in those issues. And two, it's a party which is going to represent a large bloc and is joining up, as Stuart alluded to, some of the new countries in Europe in a new bloc. And the reason that's happening is because those countries, the Czech Republic and the Polish especially, feel that there needs to be wholesale reform of the way that Europe operates and the way that the voting systems within it take place. And the Polish actually will be one of the most powerful nations in the European Union within 10 years due to their size and their population.